face, without panic, the reality of our times.
Well, guys, welcome back to Maple Syrup History, Maple Singularity Syrup History.
Yes, behind the men who run the trains are many men who help to keep them running. No man works alone, for each man's work depends on others' work. Men and machine move in against the storm. The line must be kept open.
Pulls the ground and keeps it back the trailer.
Yeah, it's time for Maple Syrup History.
Happy Hobie.
That's right. Welcome back, everyone, to Maple Syrup History. We are going to start Mere Christianity, part 1 of 6 today. I have my notes right here. And so we're going to go around the room, and whoever wants to weigh in on whatever points, the class is yours. We have the full 50 minutes. But if people prefer to simply kind of passively have me tell you what I thought and then work off that, either one is completely cool and fine. My goal is that by the end of Mere Christianity, these 6 weeks, we'll know it inside and out and better than most people ever have, in a certain sense. Most people maybe are just familiar with the book. They've read it kind of in a very superficial way. What does C.S. Lewis actually say? All right, so this is the edition that I have. Whatever edition you have is completely fine. I'm sure they're all basically the same. But the first thing that jumped out to me was something he writes in the preface. Ever since I became a Christian, I thought that the best, perhaps the only service I could do for my unbelieving neighbors was to explain and defend the belief that has been common to nearly all Christians at all times. I had more than one reason for thinking this. In the first place, the questions which divide Christians from one another often involve points of high theology or even ecclesiastical history, which ought never to be treated except by real experts. I should have been out of my depth in such waters. Okay. C.S. Lewis, if you've read his other stuff, has anyone read anything else by C.S. Lewis besides Narnia?
Abolition of Man, his science fiction series.
The Lonely Planet or something?
Out of the Silent Planet, Paralandria, and the Back of Eastern.
Excellent. That's wonderful.
I just read Screwtape and Great Divorce.
Right. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, he is so... Anyone else? Yeah?
I read Screwtape. I read, was it The White World? And then, I don't think I read the others. Great Divorce. I read a few others.
Yeah. I remember in his, I recently read, I use scare quotes because I just listened to it on tape, but commentary on the Psalms. And he basically says, very good book, that, I'm not an expert. That's kind of his shtick, Like, is he being false modest? What do you think? Is this super obnoxious? Okay, Clive Staples. Oh, I'm not an expert. And then when I go and hit you with all this wonder, he's a very good writer. He's a very smart man, obviously. He's doing this just to increase his own ego, because we're going to be like, you're so brilliant. And oh, look, you're not even an expert. Is he doing it for that reason, or is he being sincere? What do you think? He's just a guy. He's just a guy, okay?
I think part of the reason he's not calling himself an expert is because he didn't study theology.
Sure.
He's just working from base principles that he can philosophize by just sitting in his living room.
Yeah, okay, very good. Remember, or saying for the first time, Mere Christianity was given as radio addresses during the Second World War. And the point was to kind of hit the lowest common denominator. That is not meant to be insulting. You have a 275 IQ maybe, or not, or whatever, great. Like, everyone has different intellectual talents. The point of, hello Barb, the point of his approach is to cast the widest net possible. How can I make something understandable for the common man, common woman? And so I am being sincere, perhaps I'm not a theologian by practice. Okay. Before I go on to the next point, this is how all these discussions are going to be like. I'm going to say what jumps out to me, and I want to hear from you. Like right away, I'm 1-0 you. I'm like, yeah, right. You know, maybe he's doing this just to kind of like, and you're like, no, actually, he's being honest. I think, right? He's not an expert. Do you think this makes sense? The only service I could do is to explain and defend the belief that has been common to nearly all Christians at all times. Is there a mere Christianity? Is there a mere Christianity? Or no? How dare you? What do you think?
Oh yes, the basic.
What are the basics?
You worship and follow Christ. Period.
Okay.
I'm going to disagree with you. It's the word follow there is very important. It's very important we follow Christ, but how do we follow?
Well,
What
I
is
guess you got a whole
follow?
bunch of different religions with different takes on it.
Yeah.
Well, or do we really? Isn't that
Well, so
kind of what
this
he's
time
saying?
out. This is awesome. Both of you individually, I respect so much. Both of you, sincerely, I'm not being fake. People, if anyone online is like he's just talking to his imaginary friends, see, I have a laugh track. See, I have a laugh track. See, there it goes. Yep, button off. I have a laugh track. Oh, it's on again. No, people in this class are super, super precious to me. They're brilliant geniuses. It's the truth. I respect both of you very, very much. I love this. I love the disagreement. Yeah, that's the question I'm asking. By the way, I'm trying to be like a neutral referee often. But this question comes up so many times. I was watching a guy recently on a show, a very popular show. I'm not going to say which one. I don't even know why I'm not going to say which one. I just don't feel like it. I just don't feel like it. Everyone does that. It always annoyed me. So I'm going to be the annoying one now. People are like, oh, I was watching this thing and they never say what it is. So I'm not going to say what it is either. But there's this guy who's a Protestant minister on there, and he's going on and basically saying like, well, look, I'm talking about important stuff, like about, the basics, not like the Eucharist and stuff. And so I'm like, well, a Catholic obviously would fight back against it. Like, this is the basic. Unless you eat my body, drink my blood, you have no life within you. These are great questions. Is there a mere Christian? Let's find out over the course of these pages. Your answer is a very popular one. A lot of people say that. That's just about following Christ. That's mere Christianity. Wait a second. Like, just so you can just be, then I'm just going to be Baptist. I'm just going to be Baptist. I'm just going to be Presbyterian. It doesn't really matter. A lot of people say it doesn't matter. A lot of Catholics say it very much matters. I mean, this is where we're going to kind of, break apart, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't matter.
Oh, no, I know you're not. 100%. And I will try never to put words in your mouth individually. I'm saying, but these are the kind of like, what you just did there is like, that's basically the whole ball game here. Not saying that you're staking person's positions. Those positions are the ones staked out often. Stop this squabbling. It doesn't matter. As long as you profess Christ, that's what it means to be a Christian. That's mere Christianity. No, wait a second. If Christianity means something in a church and ecclesiology and you break from that, then you're not doing mere Christianity. You're doing your own thing, and I don't know. Don't get me started on the Mormons. I'm a huge fan of the Mormons. Maybe you're thinking like, wait, LOL. No, really? Why? BYU football, basically. Don't give me theology. I don't know. No comment. But BYU football is great. I gave a talk over at the Mormon Center in 2021. I think I've told that story 100 times. I'm so proud of that. Like, I introduced myself. So I'm like, hey, I'm Alice. I'm studying chemistry. And I'd be like, hey, I gave a talk at the Mormon Center. It's like my thing, I'd say, Does it matter what kind of Christian you are? Well, again, Catholics will say 100% yes. I will say, I definitely think it does. Let's see how he teases this out. He says still in the preface, I sent the original script of this book to 4 clergymen. Anglican, Methodist, Presbyterian, Roman Catholic, asking for their criticism. So far as I can judge from reviews, C.S. Lewis says, and from the numerous letters written to me, the book, however faulty in respects, did at least succeed in presenting an agreed or common or central mere Christianity. So he's, like any good author, an author should, he is going to defend, bless you, this is what I did in the book. I did succeed, here we go. More preface points. If you're like, why is he kind of going fast through this? The preface is more him we're not yet at the main questions. This is going to be book 1 and 2 and 3, where I'm really going to kind of pause and ask you what you think. I think he makes a very fair point on Roman numeral 13, still in the preface, where he says it's not so much, important, or we talk about a gentleman, right? A gentleman used to mean something in terms of not colloquially. A gentleman meant I have land. I'm part of the landed gentry. I'm also a scumbag. I'm awful. I'm so corrupt. I'm so bad. I'm still a gentleman. because the term meant have land. Now, in our modern age, C.S. Lewis, huge fist bump, I think he's totally right. When he's writing this, last century, right, so many decades ago now, I think it's still true today, a gentleman could be a guy who's homeless. It means he's a nice guy. He holds doors open for women. He's polite. If you ask him, how was your day? He's like, I was great. How was yours? It's being a nice person. C.S. Lewis actually pushes back against this. Why? Why does he say, and what's the connection to being called a Christian or Christian behavior? He's like, a gentleman used to actually mean something. Now it just means being a nice guy. It's divorced from its original meaning. Let's not do that with being a Christian. What does he mean by that?
I think he's talking about labels and behavior and the difference
Excellent.
between, you can label somebody something and you think you have a structure of what that is, and then you also take and go, well, a Christian can't be a great person and all this, so it's the dichotomy between the two.
That's good. It's a great point. Thank you. It's a great comment. That's very fair. Who else wants to weigh in? He wants to return the term Christian to meaning a follower of Christ. If I'm a Christian, I'm a horrible person. I'm also a warlord, and I drop atomic bombs on cities. I'm still a Christian if I'm baptized and I go to church. Maybe I'm very, very bad, very lax, but I'm a Christian. Today, just like gentleman has become a thing of praise, so has Christian. How many of you have heard? Well, I have a friend who's an atheist. He's more of a Christian than other Christians. You've all heard that probably. You guys, you think you're so good because you're a Christian? I know so many non-Christians who are more Christians than Christians. C.S. is like, no, they're not. Actually, no, stop. It doesn't mean being a nice person. He says here on page 14, it will become in their mouths simply a term of praise. In calling anyone a Christian, they will mean they think him a good man. But that way of using the word will be no enrichment of the language if you already have the word good. If you want to call a guy a good man, call him a good man. Meanwhile, the word Christian will have been spoiled for any real useful purpose it might have served. Right. To be a Christian means someone who acknowledges, believes Jesus Christ, the Word made flesh, is my Lord and Savior, died on the cross for my sins, established a church, everything goes to be a follower of Christ. Not, this guy's actually an atheist, but he's really the best Christian ever because he feeds the poor. And that is awesome. Praise God. Everyone knows, quote unquote, good people who are not Christians. The problem is, the rebuttal always is, can you be a good Christian without God? No, because if you take your faith seriously, the first commandment is to love God. So if you ignore that, you're not being a good person, no matter how much good you do besides that. Everyone knows on the natural level, non-believing people who are nice and kind and are nice to animals and throw great parties to their friends and feed the poor and they're very humble. That's fine. That's not Christian behavior. That's called being a good person. But you have to differentiate between the natural and the supernatural. Finally, C.S. Lewis, at this point, he's almost like Lewis out. He's doing the outro on his song. And he's like, if I can bring anyone to the hall, I have done what I attempted. He simply means, in the course of his book, he's an Anglican. Tolkien, his friend, who needs no introduction, they're part of this writing group. You've probably heard of the Inklings. And Tolkien was super, super big mad that C.S. Lewis never became Catholic. Lewis converted from atheism to Anglicanism. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was rather high church. He had a respect for tradition, obviously, and honored the Blessed Virgin Mary. A lot of good stuff there. But Lewis is like, I'm not trying to make you an Anglican or Presbyterian or whatever. I'm trying to bring you in the hall called Christianity. Maybe back to Barbara's original point. The basic thing, what is a Christian? We don't just mean he's a good guy or a nice guy. He's a follower of Christ. Then you have to decide. To give C.S. Lewis props, he doesn't go full relativist. He says on the last part of the preface, before he gets to the foreword, above all, you must be asking which door is the true one, not which pleases you best by its paint and paneling. In plain language, the question should never be, do I like that kind of service, but are these doctrines true? Is holiness there? So, to his, I've heard a lot of people go on super cheesy Catholic shows that I won't mention by name because they're so unbelievably cringe. But some of these shows, I'm not mentioning them. I love politicians. My favorite political trick ever. Luke, can I use this example? All right. Imagine Luke and I were running against each other for governor, right? My favorite political trick is ever. I heard a lot of people were saying Luke is a terrible guy. I would never say Luke is a horrible person. They said he's like the most corrupt guy ever. Luke corrupt? Luke's so corrupt? I would never say that. And the whole time they're associating, obviously his name with bad things. Whoever said that Luke is like beep, 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 that's just so off. Those words would never exit my mouth. Again, they said he was beep, 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 beep. I would never, I'm not going to tell you what these shows are, guys. But people go on these shows and they're like, C.S. Lewis made me Catholic. Who has heard that? Anyone ever hear that? I've heard a lot of guys who went from Protestantism to Catholicism claim that they converted to Catholicism by reading C.S. Lewis, by reading, thank you for the examples you gave, these wonderful books. Maybe Screwtape Letters is even more famous than Narnia, perhaps. That one comes up so often in terms of things people have read by him, besides this one. Credit to him, he's saying himself, I'm just going to bring you to the kind of doorstep, and you have to decide. So let's enter the door. We've finished the hall. I now have books 1, 2, and 3. It's all we're reading today, pages 1 through 19. Of these, I've got for you 13 questions. And I want to hear what you think. I think I know what you might say, maybe not. That's why we do this, right? Book 1. Book 1. I'm so proud of this, Vandal Catholic, and God bless Father Chase, and the whole operation we run here. We get through the books like A to Z. I promise you that. If you come to all these classes, we'll go through all the import of the books. We did that last year with Year of St. Augustine. Went through everything from start to finish. Book 1, Right and Wrong, is included in the meaning of the universe. Anyone have any thoughts on this chapter, on this book? I always will give you the floor first. I will shut up. You tell me what you think. If not, I'll take you through them happily. Any thoughts on this first book? All right. Well, I will. This is where everyone's going to be like, see, his audience is imaginary in the room. There's the laugh track button again. Okay, so here's the first point he makes. On my version, this is page 3. Can anyone corroborate? What version do you have? Like, I'm on the Law of Human Nature, book 1. What page is that for you? I'm just curious. Is it also 3? It's awesome. A book that is this famous often has the exact same numbering and stuff. Hello, come in. Are you here for the class? You are in the right place. You are showing up literally as we're starting the first point of today's class. Everything that you missed so far is just kind of preface. So thank you for being here. Welcome one and all, always. So great. So our page numbers are the same, page 3. First thing C.S. Lewis says, this book is called The Law of Human Nature, this chapter. There's a universal standard of behavior. He is appealing to some kind of standard of behavior, which he expects the other man to know about. The other man very seldom replies, to hell with your standard. Nearly always he tries to make out that what he has been doing does not really go against the standard, or that if it does, there is some special excuse. And the earlier example, as you read, was like, you promised me something. Hey, you promised? Yeah, I know, but don't worry about it. Sorry. Hey, you promised, right? Is there a universal standard of behavior? Yes or no? Or are we going to all end up being super relativistic at the end of this class? Is there a universal standard of behavior? What do you think? What is your name? Tell me what you think. You're right to the door, right to the class. You're going to have the best first answer. I believe in you. Do you think there's a universal standard of behavior, yes or no?
No.
No, you don't. Fair enough. Great. Why do you think that?
There's so many different cultures, values that everyone else, like even if you go to a different state, they're going to have a different set of values. So I think eventually you're going to run into things that no one is going to agree on.
Okay. All right. That's exactly right. That's not right. What do you think? There's so many. It seems to be on the face value kind of true what you're saying. Like, you go through all the different states in America. Just keep America. There's so many different ways of doing stuff. Whatever. Seems pretty diverse. Maybe you're right. What do you all think? Is there? Is there not? He thinks no. Yeah.
It depends on the subject matter.
Okay. Give me some examples.
There are a great many things that most cultures seem to agree on, like cowardice is wrong, treachery is wrong, murder is wrong, stealing is wrong. But there are still, like she said, a great many things that they disagree on.
Okay.
I would say generally, yes, there is a universal moral standard, but I had some come up counter examples, like what do you do with, say, various Mesoamerican societies who thought sacrifice was a good thing.
Why did they sacrifice?
Part of their religion, so they think they're being good Mayans or whatever.
Anyone ever see Apocalypto, Mel Gibson?
Apocalypto?
Such a great movie.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Class is canceled. We're going to watch Apocalypto at the Ken Rigging. I've got a guy. We can get it set up right now. He's already on it. he watches this live stream. We have this thing, if I say it, he gets to the movie ready. So, Apocalypse is a great movie. C.S. Lewis comes now. Thank you so much. I in this class, again, I've already confessed, I've already said you all know this, I'm a practicing Catholic, so you can kind of imagine the viewpoint that I'm coming from. I'm never going to tell you what I think in this class, though. It's like the referee, all right. I mean, like, I'm just here to, like, officiate. I'll tell you what C.S. Lewis thinks, so what? He's a moron, right? Or he's a genius. Like, don't just assume, because we're reading his book, everything he says, this is not scripture. The most devout Christian would assume this is not the inspired word of God. No matter how much you love C.S. Lewis, this is his, take, whatever. He comes down very much, there is a universal law. And kind of what you said. He's like, there's not a single culture that you get ballads that praise cowardice or, praise being like, robbing people and stuff. You may absolutely have like a marauding band, Genghis Khan style of robbers. They don't rob themselves. They rob the bad guys, and they're bad guys. They deserve it, right? That's what he says. They come up with a reason. Like, there's no one in their society who's like, yeah, actually in our society, we can rob people. You have different conceptions of marriage in like the ancient societies where it's like, two people, this guy has 9 wives, some are polygamous, but no one's like, yeah, you can have one of my wives. There's that idea of like, whatever the ritual is, this is like sacrosanct. That's where he comes down. This is kind of universal law of behavior. And he says, this is point number 3 for me, or wait, excuse me. The numbers are very arbitrary for me. Point number 1 was, is there a universal set of law? We seem to actually kind of come down more on a relativistic point, I don't know, from some of the comments. He thinks no. Point number 2 on page 4, he thinks it's like sports. He says, law of rule or fair play or decent behavior, morality, whatever you like to call it, about which they really agreed. And they have. Imagine, you never have to tell me what you think, but just imagine, let's say you come down on the relativist point. Would you be cool if you show up in the Mayan Empire and they want to human sacrifice you? I mean, like, that's what they do though, right? I mean, like, what's the problem? Like, would any of you, be like, yeah, this is what they do here, when in Rome? Or are you going to be like, wait a second, no, like, you can't do that, it's wrong. I'm like, what are you talking about wrong? We watched Gracjan and Kraszewski's class, you guys agreed everyone can do whatever they want, it's different, that's what we do, it's fine, it's actually good. How would you respond to that? I swear I'll never try to do gotcha questions in here or trolls and being very serious. I'll do a lot of trolling like on the side, but the questions always be very, this is a serious question. You show up in a society and like, dude, we're going to eat you, bro. I mean, like, that's what we do. Like, it's, yeah, I know it sucks, but like, that's what we do. So are you going to be like, all right, fine, just roll with it. I'm up for whatever. So how are you going to say no? How are you going to appeal to, and if you're like, you can't appeal to Christianity, let's say, because you're like, we're not Christian, can you appeal to any kind of law? Like, you can't eat me. Or can they like, yeah, you can. Like, what do you think? Go ahead.
So I think that there's some moral truths that are more obvious than others. And I think that you could make the argument to them that 2 things are true. Because the Mayans, you could argue from their own framework in terms of, well, if you're sacrificing me, you don't know me, I could be terrible, and then your God would be very displeased because
I'm an unworthy sacrifice, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
But you could also argue from the standpoint of, well, I just showed up, I don't agree with any of this.
Right.
I never agree basically to be a part of it.
The number 1 rule of our sacrifice is the person can't agree and they just show up. It's perfect. This works perfect according to our thing.
One way of looking at it might be there's 2 versions of the golden rule. One is do unto others as you have been doing to you. The other is do unto others before they do unto you.
Okay, yeah. That's well said. Seems sadly some societies have lived by that. C.S. Lewis, again, my job in this class is to tell you what the author of reading says. My opinion counts for, who cares? We'll all weigh in, like, what is the book? The author says that there is this universal law written on the heart of every man. Each man is at every moment subjected to several different sets of law, but there is only one of these which he is free to disobey. So he appeals here, as point number 3 for me on page 4, to the moral law is the only one we're allowed to disobey. Not if we believe in God and we're Christians, we're not allowed, and we'll be punished for that, either eternally in hell, through a purgatorial process, or just through bad stuff happening now. What I'm saying is we are free to disobey it. I do believe personally, I can't just kick people in the head randomly. I do believe that's wrong. But I'm free to do that. I can just like walk up right now and just kick someone. Right? I'm free to. I'm allowed to do that. Like If I try to kick someone in the head, nothing doesn't pop up like, this is not allowed in this video game, like restart or something. You can happen. This is not like gravity, for instance, C.S. Lewis says. Gravity, you're not free to disobey. You're free to disobey it for like 5 seconds before you hit the ground, right? But I mean, the process of like, I'm just going to walk off this building and I don't believe in gravity doesn't really hold up. Like gravity imposes itself on you. So his early points in this question of law and human nature, he's going to come down on the side that there is this law of human nature that's indigenous to the human heart. And the way you can make the appeal, you can't eat me, is like, we're just all human beings. Before we talk about God and all that, just kind of philosophically speaking, like there is something that all of us know without even knowing it, not even known by revelation, but kind of natural law. There's a natural law, he says. And here's what he says about different moralities. Thank you so much. It's an excellent point you made. It's a fantastic point. On page 5, this is point number 4 for me. I know that some people say the idea of a law of nature, decent behavior known to all men is unsound because different civilizations, different ages have had quite different moralities, as you correctly said. That seems to be observable, right? But this is not true. There have been differences between their moralities, but these have never amounted to anything like a total difference. If anyone will take the trouble to compare the moral teaching of, say, the ancient Egyptians, Babylonians, Hindus, Chinese, Greeks, and Romans, what will really strike him will be how very like they are to each other and to our own. And so some of the evidence he's put in this book that Luke Cepeda read, The Abolition of Man. For our present purpose, I need only ask the reader to think what a totally different morality would mean. This is kind of your earlier point. It's point number 5 for me. Think of a country where people were admired for running away in battle, or where a man felt proud of double-crossing all the people who had been kindest to him. Yeah, like, there are... Anyone ever watch like a really gritty HBO show? Anyone watch like The Wire or something like that? There are like real mad scumbag characters in these shows. But even them are like ashamed. Like, yeah, I'm a bad guy. Like, they're not like, yeah, man, you know, and I'm going to teach my son to be this way. The gangster in the show is always like, I'm so ashamed, but I got to feed my family. And there's always the rationalization. Like, I think C.S. Lewis kind of confirmed in that. Yeah, I'm a gangster and awful. But, you know, I mean, like, life is hard. You don't understand how hard life is and the streets. And I got to provide. Like, it's never like, this is awesome, by the way. Yeah, my best friend Luke, like, he thought I was his boy. I sold him out and he got killed. It was amazing. He's probably really happy right now. His family's probably going to be really excited because I'm such a good guy. No one, yeah, it's like there's not really a kind of total different morality, C.S. Lewis is saying.
I think you run into a specific problem. For example, our Christian culture here and across the world versus Islamic jihad, which is just as valid for them as ours is.
Right.
And what do you do about that? Because they're both in the same realm. What he talks about is nature as a gravity, etc.
Sure.
Which are part of the nature laws. This natural law regarding man is the only one that has this ability to understand in any other realm what that might be.
Right. I think it's a fantastic point. I think in other cultures, like, well, look at the Crusades. I'm not going to get into the Crusades, but imagine if you're on the Christian or the Islamic side, both sides looked at the people they were fighting as infidels. So it's like, if I'm waging holy war, it's like, but it's obviously justified. So I guess I am trying to kind of defend C.S. Lewis, not for the purpose of any special affinity for him, or he's my guy, other than it's kind of my job to kind of like make his argument as sound as possible. What he would say to you is like, yes, that is a difference, but that is what I said in the opening chapter, that if we do something that seems contrary to the natural law, we'll rationalize it. So we'll say, actually, we're waging this holy war, but it's because they're infidels. They're obviously bad guys. Duh. I mean, like, you have to do this. You know, when the saddest part of the Crusades, I think, was the Fourth Crusade, 1202 to 1204. The saying went that Constantinople, the blood was up to the knees because it was Christians killing Christians. Remember, the split in the church is 1054. So there was Christians fighting Orthodox. People think it's bad online now. Some of these like guys, you know, like Ortho Bros and stuff, and like Twitter. Like, just don't get me started on how it was in Constantinople, right? And they're literally slaughtering each other. May God have mercy. Horrible stuff. That is, as you can already tell, you guys are so awesome. I love the jovial aspect of our class. I love to laugh myself. This is very much a straight up not funny. It's tragic. It's like, these guys are both convinced though, like, of course, we have to go fight the Orthodox, even to the death, because they're heretics. And Orthodox, they're heretics. They have communicated themselves, you know, they're unjust. So I think, like, everyone acknowledges a similar morality, he says. When they break it, they justify it. He's saying no one does a different morality and then doesn't do any rationalization. Yeah, I lie to everyone, and lying's good, obviously, guys. Yeah, I'm a liar. You should be a liar too. Like, even like the worst politicians will be like, if you got them in an honest moment, like, why are you such a liar? They'd be like, this is how it works, you know, A, this is how it works, B, this is how the world works larger, C, I'm doing it for a good cause, D, if I don't go in here and lie, then the other bad guys will lie, I'm a good guy lying for a good cause. There's all these reasons. I was like, I just lie because I love to lie. You know, I mean, it's just awesome.
It's an applied argument, I think, of Aristotle's observation that all men pursue good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as they see it, right.
It's rather just the perception or the rationalization that this good is a higher good than the other.
Right. That's absolutely genius, brilliant, sincerely. Not being funny here. That's just a great comment. That's right. Every person in some way thinks what I'm doing is correct. Think about even like the worst possible example. Someone like, you know, in like a war getting horrible revenge. Imagine a guy going off in war and committing a bunch of war crimes. He thinks he's pursuing the good. Well, these people are never going to be brought to justice. I have to go like ethnically cleanse this city because that's what they deserve. That's justice, right? They're not going to be like, you know, I'm a bad guy. They're going to make a point why it's actually good what they're doing. Yeah, you never hear anyone with that kind of marketing of like, you guys think we're bad? Could not agree more. Bad is the new good. Just get on board. Why are you doing the bad? Because it's bad. Because bad is awesome. No one, like, even the most cartoonish, ridiculous Marvel villains, which are so like constructed and fake, have this. I was watching, I forget what Marvel movie it is, but literally it's a guy, he had the cringiest like thing. It was like I don't want to get off on a Marvel, but like Iron Man is kind of cool, I think. This guy was like the worst, like he was like Iron Man, but some kind of like disgusting like loser Falcon guy. And his suit was like so awful. And it was like there's no way that you'd be scared of this guy because you like laugh how bad he looks. He looks terrible. But this cartoonish, stupid villain in these Marvel movies where it's like, we're making this for the stupidest people on earth. Like, this guy's bad guy, this guy's good guy. Like, there's no character depth, you know? Even he was like, you know, I'm trying to do it for my daughter and my family. You know, even he wasn't like, yeah, I love being bad, haha, you know, evil laugh. So, yeah, back to Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, the great philosophers. Every person justifies their behavior in some ways. And this is all C.S. Lewis is talking about right now. And then he finally says on page 7, these are points 7 and 8 for me, it seems that we're forced to believe in a real right and wrong. I don't know, I'm not saying anyone in this class is agreeing to that. I'll never put words in your mouth. That's what he's saying. We're forced to believe in a real right and wrong. There actually is a right and wrong. Now, none of us are really keeping the law of nature. If there are exceptions among you, I apologize to them. But, so he's basically like, all of us do two things. We all agree there's a law of nature, and none of us keep it. And all of us rationalize it. Like, think about even like gym bros who are like, do you think there's guys in the gym who wouldn't like to beat their frat bro, put on like fake plates? Of course they would, right? Of course they would like put like two like fake rubber plates in the middle to make their like deadlift look bigger. Of course they would. And they're like, well, I hate this guy, so I need to beat him. Everyone knows right and wrong. Everyone cuts corners in some ways. It does certain things. I'm not going to ask any of you, have any of you ever cheated on a test? As anyone, I remember I went to elementary school and stuff in the 90s. Used to be old school tests. You like look at whatever, and always without fail in the class, it was always the girls that had all the right answers and the guys with one through like, like, let me see your paper. Let me see your paper. So do those guys doing that, do they know that's wrong? Of course they know it's wrong to cheat, but it's like, but I just need to get a good grade. She owes me one because I was really nice to her at lunch. Whatever. There's always a kind of like reason we do stuff. I don't think anyone wants more to beat a dead horse, just straight up says, I don't keep the law.
So why do we have human beings compete against everything?
Why do you think? You tell me. And what do you mean compete against everything? This is a fantastic point. Tease it out. Why do we have human beings? What are you talking about? What kind of competition? And you tell me what you think first.
Because we're sitting either on one side of the fence or another side of the fence. And part of the game is competition. Part of the game is, how do I get one up on the next person?
Right, okay.
Which then gets into the good and the bad.
Right.
And gets into what C.S. Lewis is talking about. What does it matter? How's it put together? And then he talks about God being somewhere, not even in this universe, outside of this universe,
of which now we know that there are three parts to that. Outside of this universe, we're stuck in a universe right now, and from the scientific standpoint, because I have science as a major background, we see our universe as the scientific part. But what if it isn't? What if we're just one of many universes?
Okay. Well, so why do you think?
But it all becomes competitive. Everything is a competition. I mean, even in the galaxies eat other galaxies.
Sure.
They become black holes.
So why do you? I love this. It's a great point. Why do you think people compete? I mean, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I think, but I want to hear from you all first. By the way, let's finish this chapter. This is a great point to break. I want to discuss your point. He just simply says, what time do you have, by the way? Is it like 30, 35?
31.
Okay, so you have 19 minutes. Perfect. We're doing great. He just says here, these then are the 2 points I wanted to make. Here's how he finishes book 1. C.S. Lewis from the horse's mouth. These are the 2 points I wanted to make. First, that human beings all over the earth have this curious idea they ought to behave in a certain way and cannot really get rid of it. Everyone knows deep down we're supposed to behave in a certain way. Secondly, they do not behave in that way. So 1, everyone knows how to behave, and 2, does not do it. They know the law of nature, they break it. These 2 facts are the foundation of all clear thinking about ourselves and the universe we live in. C.S. Lewis argues the foundation of understanding everything in the universe is that everyone knows what to do and then doesn't do it. And of course, Christian doctrine of original sin, concupiscence, desire. Let's go to you now before we start book 2. Why do you think, I want to hear everyone else, why do you think people compete? I'll tell you what I think, but why do you think people are so competitive? I agree with you 100%. I need to have a nicer car, more money, better weight room numbers, have gone to a more prestigious school, everything. A nicer suit, nicer watch. We're very competitive. I think it's an observable fact. Why do you think that is?
Our culture teaches competitiveness.
Okay.
And most cultures do that.
Okay.
It's pride. And in some sense, it's, again, not coming from necessarily a case of, oh, I want to be bad because pride is bad. It's good to be right in an argument. So that's why we're very competitive in arguments. It's good to have material wealth. And one of the ways to judge material wealth is I have more than you. So it's people are prideful. That's where competitiveness comes from.
All right.
I think also it comes from scarcity perceived or real.
Okay. Scarcity perceived or real. That's a good point. I need it's a zero-sum game. I need to accumulate the most resources. Anyone just want to make an argument for the love of the grind? Like, I just love to compete and be number 1. Like, I want everyone to know, it's like the football player, the best trash talk of all time. Guys are fighting, right? And you're on the opposite team, and you're chirping in my ear the whole game. You guys are losing 35-0. I don't say anything back there. I just point to the scoreboard and walk away. And this drives you insane, obviously, because it's like, he's right. We're losing. Anyone want to make an argument? People just want to compete because it's fun to compete. Like,
I was going to say, competition is one of the things that comes up out of capitalism, where it isn't necessarily a feature of socialism.
Yeah. Okay, but how do you explain this? I agree with you 100%. And you personally are one of my favorite philosophers. I sincerely mean that. I've heard you say more intelligent things than most people in my life. I'm dead serious. I'm not joking at all. How do you explain those? I think you're exactly right. And anyone who doesn't know, Adam Smith in The Wealth of Nations, that's 1776. That's born along with our declaration, our country. Like, capitalism is in our DNA, for better or for worse. But how do you explain it? I was watching this awesome documentary, guys, about the Soviet system. It was so inspirational. I considered buying a CCCP sweatshirt. In fact, I don't know if you guys saw when I put this on the channel. I sent out a Flock note. I named my class Christian Classics Course Programming to have CCCP. So I was so inspired by this. I'm dead serious. It's a troll and like a love letter to the Soviets. This is scandalous. How dare I say this? I was watching things about the Soviet system, and they're incredible athletes. Their hockey team was unbelievable. They won more gold medals. They're in a communist society, and I agree, communism is so destructive, so bad in so many ways, morally so anti-religious. But how did the Soviets in this communist system become so amazing at competing? Like, everyone saw Drago, right? I mean, Drago was a simple man. I must break you. I will break you.
The other thing about socialism and communism is that they're always cheating the system.
Okay.
In that they offer someone, a particular guy who has all kinds of skill, they say, hey, if you accomplish this, we'll let you have more than
Exactly. Or, Brad, this is why, Brad, you just proved in real time why you're a genius. That too, but what you really was trying to say is they're all doped out of their mind. You're like, they cheat, they were all on the craziest roids and stuff. So, International Olympic Committee, whatever. But yeah, maybe it's that. Yeah, so they offer kind of capitalistic competitive incentives in a society where that will be all the more desired because the system doesn't promote that normally for everyone, kind of. Okay, fair enough. What we have, 15 minutes left? 35? So we got?
It's 36.
36. Please let me know when it's like 48 because anyone who wants to go to Mass at 6, I want the class always end at 5:50 so y'all have time to go over there and whatever, so much to discuss, so little time. Book number 2, some objections. You will find inside you, in addition to these two impulses, a third thing which tells you ought to follow the impulse to help and suppress the impulse to run away. C.S. Lewis, like a good architect, a good construction worker, is building on this foundation. Remember, he said, we haven't even gotten to talking about Christianity yet. He's just like, all people know the moral law and don't follow it. It's the foundation. And he's like, all of us have this thing that, you can be the most militant atheist, this conscience, right? This kind of inner voice. You see someone falling down a hole and you have two instincts. One is the kind of Darwinian instinct for self-preservation, run away. Well, that sucks. That guy's cooked, but, that's not me, so I'm going to walk away. The second one is go help him. And C.S. Lewis is like, he's very much going to make an argument for the incarnate word, Jesus Christ, the kind of logos wiring, made in the image likeness of God. He's taking us there. But he's starting out very slow even before talking about God. It's just all of us are wired in a certain way to want to help. All of us are bad, but we have a predisposition to the good. Even if we don't do the perfect thing, we feel that tug. And if we walk away from the guy falling down a manhole, we'll maybe haunted by that for the rest of our life, right? We'll have that guilty conscience we didn't help when we should have. What else does it say here? Oh, on page 12, point number 13 for me, remember Lewis, especially British people, love atheism. And so when you have really good apologetics, like apologists, Chesterton and Lewis, it's not surprising they're British because some of the greatest British atheists, so even like the recent Four Horsemen, like Hitchens and Dawkins, they're all British dudes. British people for a long time had this deep kind of scientific humanistic atheism. So he's writing to a lot of these things that we've seen in later debates with like Hitchens and religious people and whatever. Like, what if this is just an invention of human thought, right? This idea to help, right? Other people wrote to me saying, isn't what you call the moral law just a social convention, something you put there by education? You're just brainwashed by our culture to think good is good. They just made it up. They could have easily told you bad is bad. He's already made his case why that's not the case, why there are no cultures teaching like, hey, kids, let's get really good at kleptomania 101. Here's how you steal the candy bar and walk out with a smile on your face. No one is teaching that stuff. But he says here, I think there is a misunderstanding here. The people who ask the question are usually taking it for granted that if you have learned a thing from parents and teachers, the thing must be merely a human invention. But of course that is not so. We all learn the multiplication table at school. Yeah, right? I mean, I don't want to argue 2 times 2 isn't 4. 2 to the third power isn't 8. I think most people agree. I freaking hope, guys. This is not, I have a button here, like, seek help immediately. Like, I'm ready to press it if you don't think 2 plus 2 is 4. All of you learned that. All of you were brainwashed with that. But it doesn't mean it's not true, he's saying. Just because you learned something from your parents or from school doesn't mean that it's not true. We can't just bifurcate, he's saying, morality from things like mathematics, gravity, science, those things that you're not free to disobey. There are consequences. I just do not believe in gravity. I get it. Gravity can do her thing. She says she's real. I say no. I walk off the building. That doesn't work. I can't suspend the laws of gravity. He is making this argument in the first 12 pages. That's what morality is like too. Just because you say you don't believe it doesn't matter. Like I believe my bike can go through a car. It's just it's my thing. How dare you judge my beliefs? Like that, science will impress itself upon me. But then he says, do we think other moralities are better than others? And he's like, yeah, we do. He literally says here, and remember, this is written in like the post-World War II age. For obviously right reason, but still the idea of Nazism in the Second World War was held up as like the worst possible thing. This is still the case today. But think even more so in the wake of the Second World War, the quote-unquote greatest generation fighting Nazi Germany. If no set of morals were truer or better than the other, there'd be no sense in preferring civilized morality to savage morality or Christian morality to Nazi morality. In fact, of course, we all do believe some moralities are better than others. I think that's fair to say. You know, I've never heard either someone very conservative or very liberal or whatever actually say, yeah, any morality is fine. Like Joseph Stalin was responsible for 20 million deaths. He's just doing him. Like he's doing his thing, you know, like Stalin and Mother Teresa, they're just people chilling, you know, just living their life. No, I've never heard someone make that argument. I've heard people justify Stalin. Well, he had to do it. Russia was so backwards. The czars were bad. They had to modernize. Stalin, I mean, people were trying to stand in the way of the grand Bolshevik Revolution. I've never heard someone say what Stalin did, like collectivizing the farms and murdering lots of people in cold blood, was actually good. And then it's fine. That's okay morality. Having a Saddam Hussein-like, Stalin-like secret police, Gestapo, round up enemies and kill them without due process is completely fine. That's okay. I've never actually. Has anyone heard anyone say that? I'm actually asking for real. Has anyone ever? And that's a more honest argument than some of these people. I think people are often dishonest, like, yeah, no morality is better than another. And then you ask them, well, do you like, is Stalinism okay? And like, no, actually. And they've automatically taken the L on themselves immediately, right? I have much more, although I'd be terrified by why they think this, but I have much more respect them intellectually, like, yeah, every morality is fine. Because that would be consistent with their beliefs. Has anyone heard anyone actually defend, like, you know, any morality whatsoever? Yeah.
Expressionists, I believe is the philosophy. It's our concepts of saying something is, and C.S. gets to this in his third chapter of that when we say something's bad or good, we're just making a statement of our preference. So I mean, that's the most common one I hear for that moralities are equal because they're all equally worthless.
Right, exactly. There is a huge, as the modern colloquial term, you know, black pill, which is just called nihilism. It's still called nihilism, but there is this nihilistic like thing. It's very negative. I'm not judging. I'm not saying I'm not here to judge. I'm here to referee. Maybe everyone should be black pilled. I don't know, but like it's hard to believe me saying everyone should be black pilled. I'm immediately laughing, like mirthfully after that. Right? That's not very black pilled. I need to be like the French existentialists who are like super wicked bitter. You know, they would get the blackest coffee possible because they want to be punished because life's about punishment and it's bad. Okay, yeah, people say that. That is kind of, this conversation has been awesome. Thank you. Had so many great comments. We've really very tidily, we're almost done, stayed in the first couple chapters here. We're now on the third one. That's the question he raises. We haven't talked about anything to do with Christianity yet. Just, is there an objective morality? Do people know how to follow it? Do they follow it? Is everything relative? Are there better, can we talk about better values, or are all values, just what you do? No shirt, no shoes, no service. That's so disrespectful. You know, my life is no shoes. You know, they're imposing on my morality. They're restraining my freedom. Like, there are these debates, honestly, like in American culture, about silly things like this. Like, you know, people flip out and they're like, how dare the government say they're not going to allow Big Gulp anymore? I need to get my 65-ounce cherry Coke. You know, this is communism. No smoking zones. I want to smoke it up all in my face. I am the Marlboro Man. Like, we have this kind of like libertarian thoughts. Like, is there anyone that can tell you what is the standard we're applying to? So much the early part of the book is these great questions. Yeah.
I think the question also comes from, is the enforcement from the person who owns the property or from the state?
What do you think?
Well, it depends on the law. Like the Big Gulp thing as an example. You know, give me my Big Gulp. I think you can make a good argument that there shouldn't be a rule enforced by the state just for the sake of the state and people, rather than from the sake of people should or shouldn't be drinking the Big Gulp, because I think we can all say that's probably not great for you. But people are going to indulge in that anyway. So the question is, does the state act as the enforcer of morality?
Right. That's fantastically put. Yeah. And that's why we vote, right? We vote for more or less state intervention, etc., and all that kind of thing. Luke 42, 43.
45.
Dang it. Okay, last 5 minutes. But also not dang it. Awesome. This class is great. Where are the people who were here last class? That's what I want to know. Where are they? I'm ready to talk about freedom of expression. I'm ready to yell outside. Where are you? Into a bullhorn. Thank you all that have come today. It's wonderful. You guys are the best. Last couple points. Because all these excellent points you all made are certainly true, part and parcel of these questions. On page 17, chapter 3, Reality of the Law. The law of gravity tells you what stones do if you drop them, but the law of human nature tells you what human beings ought to do and ought not. In other words, when you are dealing with humans, something else comes in above and beyond the facts. So he's talking about just kind of determinism, or the role of free will. Like, if I drop a stone, the stone doesn't get to halfway and say, wait a second, that wasn't cool, I don't like being dropped. Like, I'm going to sprout wings, and the stone will just fall, and you can calculate the rate. It's a very scientific kind of experiment. Chesterton famously said, human beings are the only wild animals. It's so true. Oh, tigers are wild. I've never heard of a tiger with an existential crisis. Every tiger just does tiger stuff. I have never heard of a tiger who's like, yeah, I'm going to go chill with dolphins. You know, hey, someone write that story, by the way. Tony the dolphin tiger. He can like ride dolphins. They teach him like radar, sonar, whatever dolphins do. Dolphin talk stuff they do. All animals just behave like they're supposed to behave, right? What happens if you go up to a Rottweiler and like talk trash in his face? He'll probably growl at you and like try to attack you, right? If you do that to a human, the guy might punch you, or he might laugh at you and be like, I love this guy. Like, we don't know. People are wild cards. People are wild cards. So Lewis, please, being serious. I love such stupid humor. True, but this is a very serious point. He's saying here, the human wild card really matters. Human free will matters. Even if the law of morality is an objective thing like the law of gravity, we don't just fall at a certain consistent rate. We have choices, we have free will that informs more than just that, more than just the facts. And here he talks more about intention. Who is Lewis more angry with? The guy who's just chilling like this in the cafe and Lewis trips over his foot and he falls and breaks his arm? Or the guy that tries the trick and Lewis notices it and he passes on by? Who is Lewis more angry with? Page 18. The one who tried, because that was an evil act. He was trying to injure him. So, same thing too. You would think, wait a second, I'm just all about facts. No, he's more mad at the guy had his leg out because now he has to have his arm in a cast. Well, no, because human free will. Humans are wild cards. You weren't trying to trip me. God bless you. That was an accident. You must feel awful. I broke my arm. You were just sitting there. What an accident. Versus someone who maliciously tries to trip you. Yeah, so the human free will wild card is going to factor in to the rest of the book. And I really finish with, I'm just going to read you the kind of last point here. Chapter 3 is very slim and tidy, and in fact this discussion has been very slim and tidy and on point. I love that. And thanks to you. You guys are all awesome, sincerely. So last point I'll make today, I'll see you next Tuesday for the next section, which by the way is going to be like page 21 to 46, I believe. They're all online at Vandal Catholic. Everyone knows that, right? Everyone's vandalcatholic.com and go to Flocknote. Just last point here. This rule of right or wrong, page 20. This rule of right or wrong, or law of human nature, whatever you call it, must somehow or other be a real thing, a thing that is really there, not made up by ourselves. And yet it is not a fact in the ordinary sense, in the same way as your actual behavior is a fact. It begins to look as if we shall have to admit there is more than one kind of reality, that in this particular case there's something above and beyond the ordinary facts of men's behavior, and yet quite definitely real law, which none of us made, but which we find pressing on us. John Paul II, Pope St. John Paul II the Great, famously said, man is not an inventor but a discoverer. And he was obviously arguing in the Lewis vein, like in God's immutable law, we don't make up right and wrong, we just learn what God says is right and wrong. And we learn that standard. We don't make it up along the way. I love how the discussion began. The other side says, we just make up whatever we want. Life is whatever you make of it. And this is what kind of he's going at the entire time. In the final minute that I have, you guys, sincerely, the last time I promise, I'll stop with all the compliments. But thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Please invite all your friends. If anyone's like, can my 95-year-old grandmother come to this class? Absolutely, guys. I see grandmothers walk in the Palouse Mall and shape the heroes of our society. There's like walking circles. I wish more than were in the class. Everyone is invited. Anybody. So please, if you come one, come all, always. Wouldn't it be an awesome problem to have to put people on like a wall somewhere? To me, it would be awesome. Tomorrow night, my friends, my first Hippo lecture of the semester. I warmly invite you to come. If no one knows who I am, no one knows what I do, a 3-second thing, in my role as Director of Intellectual Formation, there is the real standard Catholic stuff. This class. Next Wednesday the 10th, Father Chase and I do our monthly Spirit and Life series. That's very straightforward Catholic catechetic stuff. But once a month, I give something called the Hippo Lecture, which is a fictional experimental thing. The last couple of years, those Hippo Lectures have been put into books. The most recent one is called Mark and Anna Models. I'm beginning a new story tonight, you see right here, called The Lost History of Pullman, Washington. And it is a parody, half mocking, half love letter to the Catholic fantasy genre that I hope will end it once and for all. And this guy, Harold Blythe Tornado, is a professor at the fictional University of Toulouse. He discovers a vast underground archive beneath Moscow and Pullman, and it contains the lost history of Pullman over 6 installments. Tomorrow I'm just introducing it. The book's already written, it's done. The last chapter will be read in like April 2026. There'll be parts where in the 1800s, Pullman and Moscow had flying humans and teleportation, time travel. It's ridiculous. It's a fantasy book. It's a fantasy genre. There's a part where it's a Rapunzel narrative, but he's Rapunzel. So like basically in the Rapunzel narrative, she's locked in a tower, right? Everyone knows the story. Here, he's trying to escape this horde of people on the Toulouse trying to catch him and his best friend, Count Ken of the Kibidome. So all that starts tomorrow night. If you're my whole argument, I'll make this argument tonight, tomorrow, is like, we need more stories, more stuff. This can be the bread and butter. This is great. Mere Christianity, catechetics, that is awesome. Some Catholic centers have. I'm not saying all, but a lot. I think this is something very unique we do with Vandal Catholic. It's a total fictional kind of thing. So if you want a kind of fun night, again, I made a hype video about it, posted to the YouTube channel. I just said I'm not making any promises other than it's going to be the most fun ever. But just trying to set the bar pretty low. Until then, God bless you guys. See you. Take care.
What are we reading?